سلام بچه های عزیز، به کانال من خیلی خوش اومدین. اسم من مریم هست و من معلم زبان فارسی هستم. Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Mariam. I'm a Persian language instructor. And I'm sorry guys, I know it's been a while since my last video. Usually this time a year, I'm very busy with work. So it's a little bit hard for me to find time and publish a new video, but somehow I managed to finish another video. So we have a new lesson today, expanding sentences. And it's a very easy lesson. And for those of you who are looking to get more practice, I think you will find this lesson very helpful. So please do not forget to subscribe, and let's just start the lesson. So guys, just to let you know, the lesson on expanding sentences has two parts. This is part 1, which is for beginner level. But there will be a part 2 later on after we cover subjunctive, we cover relative clause and all the other tenses. Then this lesson will be for late intermediate level. Once it is published, I will put a link on the description of this video as well. What are we going to learn in this lesson? So first we are going to go over the 4 sentence structures that you need to know, and then we are going to learn how to expand our sentences, and we will take a look at 3 examples. And then there's an important point you need to know about a common mistake that usually learners make when it comes to expanding sentences. And then we are going to take a look at 4 more examples, just for practice purpose. In this lesson, there are many examples, and for the examples, you need to know past tense and present tense. If you do not remember how to form past and present, you can just pause the video and quickly review them here. 4 sentence structures. 4 ساختار جمله. So here on the left side, you will see the 4 sentence structures. The first one, ساده, simple. For example, من کیک خوردم. It consists of just one independent clause. The next one, compound, مرکب. For example, مادرم کیک درست کرد و من آن را خوردم. It consists of 2 or more independent clauses, and usually these clauses are connected with each other by using coordinating conjunctions. Here you can take a look at what coordinating conjunctions are, and we have already learned them in this lesson. You can find the link in the description box. And then the third group is complex, پیچیده, which consists of one independent clause and then one or more than one dependent clauses. For example, من کیک خوردم چون گرسنه بودم. Usually these clauses are connected to each other with subordinating conjunctions. In this lesson, because it's expanding sentence part 1, we're only going to cover چون to use. چون and وقتی. This is, we will use them in the lesson expanding sentence 2, because for this one you need to know subjunctive, and it's they're a little bit more like late intermediate level. And the fourth one, complex, compound and complex, مرکب و پیچیده, which is a combination of this and this. So for example, مادرم کیک درست کرد و من آن را خوردم چون گرسنه بودم. So it consists of 2 or more independent clauses and 1 or more dependent clauses. So in this lesson, we are going to learn how to expand our sentences from a simple sentence to a more complex sentence, or maybe compound and complex sentence. So before we take a look at an example, let's just very quickly review the interrogative words, because I'm going to be using them. The first one, چی, کی, کی, کجا, چطور, کدام چرا. Let's start with our first example. So here, I met my friend. So the verb to meet in Farsi is a little bit tricky, or I would say it's different than English, because when you meet someone you already know, like a friend, a family member, a coworker, neighbor, someone you already know, then we usually just use didan. If you are meeting someone for the first time, or you have met someone for the first time in the past, then we just use آشنا شدن. If you are meeting someone for like maybe more official meetings, maybe for example like your boss, coworker, your lawyer, just someone a little bit more officially, then we use دیدار کردن or ملاقات کردن. So for this sentence, it's better to use دیدن. And then remember, من دوستم را دیدم. It will trigger ra because the direct object has the possessive suffix. Now, this sentence, من دوستم را دیدم, is very short, it's simple, it's not interesting, it's kind of boring. So let's see how we can expand it further. So the first thing that we can do, we can ask the question کی. So instead of just saying I met my friend, we can add an adjective, and I say something like I met my childhood friend, or I met my very good friend, or just some kind of adjective if it applies. So in this case I decided to go with childhood. Childhood is بچگی. So let's add childhood to this sentence. من دوست بچگیم را دیدم. Remember, now the possessive suffix mim needs to go with the modifier, the adjective. We cannot say من دوستم بچگی را دیدم. It's wrong. We need to say من دوست بچگیم را دیدم. The same goes with English. For example, I met my friend. Now that we have an adjective, we do not say I met childhood my friend, right? You break down my and friend, and then the adjective comes in between. But in Farsi, it doesn't come in between. It's just the adjective comes after the noun, but then the suffix needs to go with the modifier. Now, let's expand it a little bit more. We can ask the question کجا, where. How about I met my childhood friend at a cafe. در یک کافه. من دوست بچگیم را در یک کافه دیدم. So this one is pretty straightforward. Next one, we can expand it even a little bit more and add K, when. How about we add yesterday to the sentence? But yesterday is a time adverb, and in Farsi it comes in the beginning. So دیروز من دوست بچگیم را در یک کافه دیدم. Now let's stretch it out even more by adding a dependent clause. So we can ask like چرا, why. And here is the dependent clause, because she works near there. چون نزدیک آنجا کار می کند. دیروز من دوست بچگیم را در یک کافه دیدم چون نزدیک آنجا کار می کند. So this sentence, من دوستم را دیدم, comparing to this sentence, it's day and night different, right? This one is short, it's boring, it's not interesting, but this one, it sounds a lot more interesting. So this is a fun practice you can do. I do this in my classes all the time with my students, and they actually really love it because, they get this feeling that they can speak longer sentences rather than like short sentences. So you can do this practice too. And as a language teacher and a language learner myself, I think the more details you add to a sentence, the more interesting it becomes. Let's take a look at another example. We have a sentence, a simple sentence, and it says this couple met. So remember, now we have to go with the second one. We cannot use دیدن anymore, but we need to use آشنا شدن because the verb here to meet is referring to meeting for the first time. So این زوج آشنا شدند. Okay, now let's see how we can stretch it out, how we can expand it. We can see if we can add an adjective to the sentence. We can say something like maybe this young couple met. So young is جوان. این زوج جوان آشنا شدند. Let's expand it even further. We can answer the question K. Almost 10 years ago. تقریباً 10 سال پیش. تقریباً 10 سال پیش این زوج جوان آشنا شدن. Remember, in Farsi, time adverb usually comes earlier in the sentence. And also here, you can also say تقریباً 10 سال پیش. So either with اضافه or without اضافه, they both work. And also we need to keep sal here singular. In English, you say 10 years ago, you make the noun plural, but in Farsi, when we have a number before a noun, the number is already indicating that the noun is plural. So we keep it singular. And now let's answer the question کجا in university در دانشگاه. تقریباً 10 سال پیش این زوج جوان در دانشگاه آشنا شدند. We can expand it even further by answering the question like چرا. Because they were classmates. چون همکلاسی بودند. تقریباً 10 سال پیش این زوج جوان در دانشگاه آشنا شدند چون همکلاسی بودند. You see how easy it is? You're just adding more details to it, and by doing this practice, you're making your sentences a lot more interesting. This is the sentence that we just did, and the sentence is a compound sentence. Now let's see if we can turn it into a more compound, complex structure by adding another conjunction to it. But before that, I want to first go over the informal form of the sentence because some of you are learning the conversational side of Farsi, so the informal is important. All right, what changes in this sentence? The first thing that changes, javan changes to javun, dar changes to tu, شدند changes to شدن, بودند changes to بودن. So I'm going to read it one more time. تقریباً 10 سال پیش این زوج جوان تو دانشگاه آشنا شدن چون همکلاسی بودن. Alright, so here we have چون. Please note that for چون we have other forms as well. We have چونکه, we have برای اینکه, and we have زیرا. Zero is like kind of formal. We don't really use it in the spoken language, but any of these alternatives here you can use. If you think that برای اینکه is easier for you, you remember it better, you can use برای اینکه, any of them. So now let's see if we can add another conjunction, subordinating conjunction. We can add وقتی. When is also وقتی که. So either one works. وقتی is more common. I just go with وقتی. So if I add وقتی to the sentence, I just need to rephrase it or reword it a little bit, and this is how it's going to change. تقریباً 10 سال پیش وقتی این زوج جوان دانشجو بودند در دانشگاه آشنا شدند چون همکلاسی بودند. So now we have a dependent clause here, and then we have another dependent clause here. And the informal form is also the same. So what changes in the informal language is the same. Again, جوان changes to جوون, بودند changes to بودن, شدند changes, در changes to تو, شدند changes to شدن, and again بودند بودند changes to بودن. So I'm going to read it one more time informally. تقریبا 10 سال پیش وقتی این زوج جوان دانشجو بودن تو دانشگاه آشنا شدن چون همکلاسی بودن. Okay, next example. My dog sat. So to sit is نشستن. سگم نشست. Easy. Now let's see how we can stretch it out. So here we have a dog. This dog is sitting on a rug. It's next to the fire and it seems like it's dark outside, so it's probably in the evening. All right, so let's see how we can expand it further. So we can first add an adjective to dog because he's like such a cute dog. So we can say something like my lovely dog sat. Lovely is دوست داشتنی. سگ دوست داشتنیم نشست. Again, so the possessive meme has to go with the adjective and we add an aleph before the possessive suffix because دوست داشتنی here e, it ends in e, so for ease of pronunciation. Now we can answer the question کجا? On the green rug. So you see there's like a rug here and it's green, so on the green rug. روی قالی سبز. We do not say در. Sometimes the learners, they mix up در with روی. در usually is when inside, you know, but here the dog is not sitting inside of something. He's just sitting on something. So on would be روی, which more literally means above. And then قالی. قالی is more like a small rug. For the bigger rugs, the big ones, we say فرش. But when we say قالی, it's like a little bit the smaller ones. And then سبز is green. سگ دوست داشتنیم روی قالی سبز نشست. Alright, next one. K. So K, we can add something like after dinner because you see, this is empty, so after dinner. بعد از شام. بعد از شام سگ دوست داشتنیم روی قالی سبز نشست. Again, we need to bring it a little bit earlier in the sentence. What else? We can add چرا because next to the fire is the coziest place in the house. Okay. چون کنار آتش means next to the fire. دنج ترین. We have already learned the superlative adjectives. So دنج, it means cozy. So coziest, دنج ترین. And then جا is place. در خانه است. In the house. بعد از شام سگ دوست داشتنیم روی قالی سبز نشست چون کنار آتش دنج ترین جا در خانه است. So you see, from something like this, just two words, we turn that into something like this by just adding more details into the sentence. Now let's go over a very common mistake that you need to know and you need to avoid. Alright, so here, this is the first example that we did. So we have already done this sentence. Let me just read through it one more time and I'm going to use this example to explain to you the point. So دیروز من دوست بچگیم را در یک کافه دیدم چون نزدیک آنجا کار می کند. So we have two clauses in this sentence and we have two verbs. First verb and second verb. So I know with Farsi you have learned, one of the first thing that you have learned is that the verb comes at the end of the sentence. So that's true, but the verb also comes at the end of the clause as well, not at the end of the sentence necessarily. If the sentence is just one independent clause, just one verb, then yes, bring it at the end of the sentence. But if we have more than one clauses in the sentence, then each verb comes at the end of the clause it belongs to. What I mean is this, doing the following. For example, دیروز من دوست بچگیم را در یک کافه چون نزدیک آنجا دیدم کار میکند. So this is wrong because this verb belongs to this clause. So it needs to come at the end of this clause. If you do something like this in Farsi, then it's like doing this following in English. One verb here, another verb here. So it's like bringing it here and say something like, I met Works, my childhood friend, at a cafe yesterday because she near there. You see, it does not make any sense. So it's the same in Farsi too. It doesn't make any sense if you bring a verb that belongs to another clause, if you bring it at the end of the sentence. So this is just an important point that, you need to pay attention to. I hope so far you found this video helpful. If you did, please don't forget to subscribe. And now let's go over more sentences so you can get more practice. So we will go over these examples now and we will translate them into Farsi. Also, for these examples, you need to know past tense and present tense. If you do not remember, again, here's a reminder for you. Let's start with the first sentence. If you need the vocab, here are the vocab. You can just pause the video. If you need to find anything, you can just go through this list. So how do we deal with longer sentences? The best way is to just break them down into smaller pieces. Take a look here. So we are going to start with this one, this part only. این دختر بامزه خیلی خوشحال شد when she saw وقتی دید her little dog is playing with the other big dogs in the park. All right, so we need to start with her little dog. سگ کوچکش در پارک با سگ‌های بزرگ دیگر بازی می کند. Because her dog is usually afraid of them. چون معمولاً سگش از آنها می ترسد. So you see, if you just start little by little, or if you break it into smaller parts, then it's easier to come up with a sentence. Here is the literal translation. It would be very helpful if you could also go over the literal translation because it will give you an idea of the order and the structure. So now I'm going to go over some grammar points. For those of you who are still at the beginner level, you're still learning, you need some reminder, it would be helpful for you. All right, so I'm going to start from the beginning. این دختر بامزه. This is the noun, this is the adjective. They need to be connected to each other with اضافه. And then here, سگ کوچکش. So the sh, the possessive suffix, needs to go with the adjective, not with the noun. The other one is سگ‌های بزرگ. So this is the adjective, this is the noun. They need to be connected to each other with اضافه. But because سگ‌ها, the noun, ends in an aleph, we add a ye, so the implied اضافه can sit here. And then the other thing is دیگر. If you take a look at the English version, other has come before the adjective and the noun, but in Farsi usually it comes after. Sometimes it can come before too, but that's formal. That's using like the written formal language. You might see it comes before, but in the spoken language, it's just it flows better when you bring it after the adjective, after the noun. First the noun, the adjective, and then دیگر. And then I think the rest is pretty clear. And now let's go over the informal form of the sentence. All right, let's see what changes. The first thing that changes is کوچکش. So کوچک, that's a little bit formal. In the spoken language, we say کوچیک. And also in the spoken language, the sound a changes to e. So کوچکش changes to کوچکش or کوچیکش, because کوچک changes to کوچیک, so کوچیکش. If it's not clear, let me know in the comment section. I'll explain to you. And dar changes to to. What else? Here, sagha changes to saga. In the spoken language, we really don't pronounce he unless it ends in a long vowel, then we have to pronounce it. Other than that, we kind of say it fast, so we don't really pronounce it. What else? دیگر changes to دیگه. میکند changes to میکنه. سگش changes to سگش. You see? So the sound a changes to e. سگش, سگش. And then از آنها changes to ازشون. We have learned this in this lesson. If you don't know how, just go over this lesson. And then میترسد changes to میترسه. So I'm going to read it one more time. این دختر بامزه خیلی خوشحال شد وقتی دید سگ کوچیکش تو پارک با سگای بزرگ دیگه بازی میکنه چون معمولاً سگش ازشون میترسه. I hope the first example wasn't too hard. Let's take a look at the second one now. Here are the vocab list for this example. You can pause the video and take a look at this. All right, now let's break down the sentence into smaller pieces. So now we are going to start with the first part of the sentence. Yesterday, some of my friends and I. دیروز من و چند تا از دوستهایم. Ordered a large pizza from the local pizza place. یک پیتزای بزرگ از پیتزا فروشی محل سفارش دادیم. Because the pizza prices in there are relatively cheap. چون قیمت‌های پیتزا در آنجا نسبتاً ارزان است. But they have delicious pizzas. ولی پیتزاهای خوشمزه‌ای دارد. Here is now the literal translation. If you want to take a look at the literal form of it. And now let's go over some of the grammar points you need to know. All right, now I'm going to go over some important grammar points. If you understand everything in the sentence, then you can skip this part. But some of you are more at the beginner level and you need more help with the grammar. So let's just go over those points. So the first one is من و چند تا از دوستهایم. It's like in English saying me and some of my friends. And here for some of, in Farsi we need to say چند تا. We cannot say چند از دوستهایم. چند تا از دوستهایم. And then as equals to of in English, and then we need to make the noun after that plural. So you see friends, friends. So this is very important that you need to memorize and remember. The other thing is that here after pizza we add a ye because again we want to connect بزرگ to pizza. It's a modifier, so we add ye for اضافه. And then pizza furushi, it's like a pizza place. In Farsi, more literally, we say like selling pizza, but basically it's a place that sells pizza. What else? قیمت‌های again. So here after prices, we want to connect pizza to قیمت‌ها is the modifier. So we need another ye here because ha ends in aleph. And then okay, here خوشمزه ای دارد. This e here is optional, we don't need to add it, but after we add the e to a noun, to an adjective that is modifying a noun, it's just by adding a e, it's like we are emphasizing on the quality of it. We are putting more emphasis on the adjective خوشمزه. This is something very useful if you can get into the habit of adding e to an adjective that is modifying a noun. It's very common in Farsi. If you have any other questions, if I have left anything, please ask me in the comment section and I will answer your question. Let's see what changes in the spoken language. So the first thing is here, دوستهایم changes to دوستام. Let me change my pen here. So he, we don't need it. Yeah, not that we don't need it, we actually need it, but in the spoken language, we just don't pronounce it. All right, so دوستهایم changes to دوستام. یک changes to ye. The other thing is here. قیمتها changes to قیمتها. We don't pronounce he. Sorry again, I'm changing my pen again. He. Okay. What else? Dar changes to tu. Anja changes to unja. Arzan changes to arzun. And then here we have ast. So changes to a silent he. So arzan ast becomes arzune. Arzune. And the other thing is darad changes to dare. So now I'm going to read it one more time. دیروز من و چند تا از دوستام یه پیتزای بزرگ از پیتزا فروشی محل سفارش دادیم چون قیمت‌های پیتزا تو اونجا نسبتاً ارزونه ولی پیتزاهای خوشمزه‌ای داره. Next example. Here are the vocab. You can just go over the list. All right, now let's break down the sentence. This example consists of actually two sentences. You see one sentence here and the rest is another sentence. So it makes it easier. Let's now start with the first sentence. My older son took a nap after school for a few hours. پسر بزرگم بعد از مدرسه برای چند ساعت چرت زد. But when he woke up, he was still very tired. ولی وقتی بیدار شد هنوز خیلی خسته بود. Because he stayed up late the night before and went to bed close to 11 p.m. چون شب گذشته تا دیر وقت بیدار ماند و ساعت 11 شب خوابید. So here is the literal translation. And now let's go over some grammar point. Let's go over some grammar or maybe some important points that you need to know. The first one is that here in English you say like my older son or my younger daughter or my older sister or younger brother. The adjective older and younger is used, but in Farsi we do not use older and younger. We use bigger, big and small. For example, here, پسر بزرگم, literally, we say my big son, meaning my older son. So this is one thing that you need to pay attention. If I wanted to say my younger son, I had to say پسر کوچکم. And then the mim needs to go with the adjective. And the other thing you need to know is that here, بیدار ماند, if you know past perfect, we can also use بیدار مانده بود. But if you are learning Farsi with my lessons one by one, so far we have not covered past perfect yet. But later on we will cover that, so don't worry. And the other thing is that we use the adjective ta here, which means until. So we kind of say something like he stayed up until late. And then for late, meaning to stay up late, we use dir vakt. We don't use dir vakt to say like, oh, today I was late to the class. No. For that one, we just say dir. But for staying up late at night, we use dir vakt. The other thing is that here in English you say to go to bed. In Farsi we do not say to go to bed. We just say خوابیدن. خوابیدن either means to sleep or to go to bed. Both of them. And I think the rest is pretty clear. Again, if you have any questions, just let me know in the comment section. I will answer your questions. Now let's go over the informal. The good news is that just one thing changes in the informal language. Mond changes to mund. You see? Not that hard. All right, but I'm gonna just read it again a little bit faster, maybe a little bit more informally, so you just get used to hearing that too. پسر بزرگم بعد از مدرسه برای چند ساعت چرت زد. ولی وقتی بیدار شد هنوز خیلی خسته بود. چون شب گذشته تا دیر وقت بیدار موند و ساعت 11 شب خوابید. Remember again the pronunciation of va in the spoken language changes to like an u. بیدار موند و ساعت 11 شب خوابید. Last example for this lesson. Here is a sentence, and also if you need the vocab, here are the vocab. You can pause the video and see which one of them you need some help with. Now we are going to break down the sentence into smaller pieces to make it easier. So let's start with the first part. When we travel to new countries. وقتی به کشورهای جدید سفر می‌کنیم we usually visit art museums. معمولاً از موزه‌های هنری دیدن می‌کنیم. And look at artworks و آثار هنری را تماشا می‌کنیم. Because we are very interested in the art and paintings of different countries. چون خیلی به هنر و نقاشی کشورهای مختلف علاقه داریم. And here is the literal translation. Let's go over the grammar now, starting from here. وقتی به کشورهای جدید سفر می کنیم, so in this clause, I think everything is pretty clear. معمولاً از موزه های هنری دیدن می کنیم. What is this as here? Do you see any as in the English word, in the English sentence? So this as that comes here is the preposition that comes with the verb دیدن کردن. دیدن کردن is a prepositional verb, and you need to use the preposition that comes before the object. So as چیزی دیدن کردن, and چیزی would be موزه های هنری. And then this one, آثار, is a plural noun. It's artworks. The singular form of it is asar, but the plural is asar. We use the broken plural or the Arabic plural for this noun. If you don't know what broken plural or Arabic plural form is, I have talked about this in the lesson about plural nouns. And then what else? Okay, you see a be here. What is this be? This be is a preposition that comes with the verb علاقه داشتن, interested. In English, you are interested in. In Farsi, we are interested to. Basically, like more literally, we have داشتن. We have interest to something. به چیزی علاقه داشتن. What would be چیزی? It would be هنر و نقاشی کشورهای مختلف. So I'm going to read it one more time. چون, because خیلی به هنر و نقاشی اضافه کشورهای مختلف علاقه داریم. So if I have left anything or if you have any questions, let me know in the comment section. Let's go over the informal form of the sentence. The good news is that not too many things changes, just a few things here and there. کشورها changes to کشورها. را changes to رو. کشورها changes to کشورها. And also the vav here, you see here and here, the pronunciation changes to an O. So I'm going to read it one more time, this time faster and more informally. وقتی به کشورهای جدید سفر می‌کنیم معمولاً از موزه‌های هنری دیدن می‌کنیم و آثار هنری رو تماشا می‌کنیم چون خیلی به هنر و نقاشی کشورهای مختلف علاقه داریم. Thank you everyone for watching. I hope you guys found this lesson helpful. If you have any questions, please let me know in the comment section. Otherwise, I will see you guys in the next video.